So I just finished a DoorDash shift that was hitting close to $30 an hour. And as I was looking at my notes and the numbers on it, there was a strategy that stood out for me. So let's go over that. Firstly, I want to welcome you to the channel. My name is Mike. If you're new here, this channel is dedicated to your success in this gig economy, the side hustle. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And also, yourdrivermike.com just went live, the only site that teaches you what actually works so you can make more money on your very next shift. So as always, I'm coming to you from San Diego, California, and I drove on DoorDash in the Mission Valley market segment. And tonight there was a $3 peak pay bonus. That's $3 extra on every delivery that you complete. But everyone that signs up on that shift gets that bonus. So why did I do so well? All right, so follow along with me here. Let's go over the orders. Number one, I got this one from Cali O Burgers. So it's $11. So what exactly should you look for when you're out driving? Well, number one, I want you to wait to where there's a really big density of restaurants. And what that's gonna do is hopefully get you an order as soon as possible, because the last thing you want, because you're signed up for just a certain amount of hours in that shift, is to sit around and have nothing going on. So if you look at the time on the top left, it's 6:33. I started this shift 3 minutes prior, so I'm in a good spot here. So $11 for 4.5 miles. I always talk about the dollars to mile ratio. What are you getting paid for the miles driven? And this is pretty solid for the dollars to mile ratio. So I accepted this one. This is order number one. So here's the next request, $7, 5.2 miles for Benihana. So here's our next strategy for you. It's smart declines. So you're driving ideally on those peak pay bonuses. But like I mentioned, so is everyone else that signed up for that shift during those hours, which means that you don't have to take everything that comes through, because frankly, a newer driver or someone who's not strategizing here, they'll take this order. And we want someone else to take this one. I want you to decline this order simply because the dollars to mile ratio. So I declined this one pretty quickly because it just didn't make sense for me. And it also comes down to market knowledge. I knew I could get a better order than this $7 here, especially on the $3 bonus and knowing my marketplace, how busy it typically gets. Because if we calculate the dollars to mile ratio on this one, it's $1.35 per mile, which sounds decent, but again, I know we can do better. So when you're out there driving, the way to measure this is number one, again, how busy does this market segment typically get? Number two, when you're driving on peak pay bonuses, how high of an order, or again, how high of a dollars to mile ratio does it typically bring you? Going back to this one, this is $1.35, dollars to mile ratio. But on a peak pay, at least here in my marketplace, I know I can get to $1.75, $2 plus per mile. So again, I declined it, and we can see this next order request for $9.25 for just 3 miles. This is how you know you're having smart declines. If you decline an order that we just saw for $1.35 a mile, and then you'll see an order like this come through. So here's another great example of positioning. Being in areas that are, again, dense, that have a lot going on, again, increasing the chances of you getting a very good order. This one, $11 for 3.7 miles. And let me just make a note here. Look at the starting and the ending destination. The starting destination with that kind of little shopping bag, and then the ending destination with the home icon. Note how they're pretty close together. Now, again, it's 3.7 miles, which isn't too bad, but the ending destination is still in a pretty busy area of the marketplace. So take note of that. Say, is my ending destination further away? Is it taking me to a rural neighborhood versus just kind of bouncing over somewhere a couple miles away like this one and keeping me in shopping plazas, malls, etc.? So since we're talking about positioning, I think this is a good order that twofold covers positioning. So number one, I took this order. And why would I take this? Actually, let me know down below in the comments if you would take this one. So this one, $11.60 from California Fish Grill, it's 7.4 miles. Now that is $1.57 per mile. That's pretty good. It's a little bit higher than that Benihana that we declined. And when you're on a peak pay, I would like to see you at that 150 plus per mile. But as you can see, it is further away. It's pulling us south. It's not really keeping us in that central area of the marketplace where we're scheduled. And that's okay, and let me explain why. So there's some nuances here after I completed this order. So number one, as you saw, I finished the order south of the Mission Valley market segment where I was currently scheduled. But let's talk about hotspots and positioning. So after you finish that order, you can click on Show Hotspots, and the Dasher app will do just that. It'll show you nearby hotspots. So what I did after that California Fish Grill order is I clicked on Show Hotspots, and I'm going to choose the one that's closest to my current location, minimizing those commuting miles. But not only that, I want you to answer this question whenever you choose those hotspots. Well, number one, distance, right? How far is it from my current location to that hotspot? And I mentioned the goal there is to reduce those commuting miles. Number two, I want you to answer, have I picked up from this hotspot before? This is going to pull from your past driving expertise. So you'll know, okay, well, I have picked up from this area before, and I know it's usually pretty busy, or maybe it's not so busy. Now, if you haven't picked up from that hotspot before, that's when you can take notes, or at least mental notes, and you can see, well, how long did I have to wait before I got an order request? So I knew, based on my prior driving knowledge, that that hotspot was a good place to pick. It was pretty close by, and I knew there was a plaza that is pretty busy. So I got this Panda Express order, $8.25, and again, a strong dollars to mile ratio here. Wasn't too far away, 3.1 miles. Now here's a nuance to hotspots that I've been noticing. In my opinion and in my experience, there's certain hotspots, areas in your marketplace that may be more prone to stacked orders. So let's pull this example here, $9 on the stacked order from Panda Express for just an additional 1.7 miles. That's fantastic. But the reason this hotspot is even better than average hotspots, let's say, is I knew that this plaza has that Panda Express, and more importantly, that a lot of people order from that Panda Express. So if there's a hotspot with a restaurant that you know gets slammed, something like a Panda Express that gets a lot of orders, that increases your chance for a stacked order. If you're not familiar with a stacked order, that's just 2 assignments for 1 driver. So if a hotspot is super dense with restaurants, and ideally very popular restaurants like this, then there you go. There's a good chance for a stacked order versus a hotspot that is really a smaller plaza. Maybe some of those restaurants have already closed. That's not as attractive. So I hope that helps you strategize around hotspots and making the most money, not only on peak pay, but using hotspots to your advantage. So now let's go over a complete earnings breakdown and go over the numbers. Okay, so I promised to go over the numbers for you, and hey, I did mention that this was close to $30 an hour, but let's see exactly how I got to those numbers. So tonight's shift was from 6:30 p.m. until 8:45 p.m. As mentioned, this was in the Mission Valley market segment here in San Diego, and we were on a $3 peak pay bonus. I was happy with the gross revenue in such a short shift, $66.75. And there you go, that equaled the $29.67 in gross revenue per hour. During this time, I completed 6 deliveries. I was happy to also receive 6 tips, including a nice $10 tip. Total business miles here was 34.5, which equals a tax deduction of $19.84. I want you to remember that if you're on peak pay or not, these strategies still work because everyone is really on the same playing field when you schedule these shifts. Everyone's got a vehicle, everyone is scheduled in the same shift. So what's really going to help you stand out is strategy. Because just driving on peak pay, or even if you don't have peak pay, you can't just rely on the DoorDash Dasher app to give you the best orders. So to summarize, I want you to have smart declines. Know when an order is just not worth it for you. And remember, you can't be deactivated on these apps solely based on your acceptance rating. Number 2, I want you to increase your margin by minimizing your expenses. As you saw here tonight, if you are going to have commuting miles, it's knowing which hotspot is really going to be worth it, and ideally one that's pretty close by. Number 3, it's positioning, like we just mentioned, and really utilizing hotspots. Hotspots are there to help you out. It's from a DoorDash indicating areas that are generally busier. But in my opinion, not all hotspots are the same. Not all perform equally. So I want you to learn from experience because this is your exact marketplace, not mine, right? And I want you to take notes, or at least mental notes, and know which one is the ideal one to go for. So if you got value in this video, definitely leave a like, and do make sure to check out my Amazon storefront as well. That's linked down below so you can get the very best accessories for your side hustle. Click or tap the screen now for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.